Drag cars are built primarily with one purpose in mind: simple raw acceleration. With all the horsepower in the world being useless without the ability to transfer that to the racing surface itself, the performance level often comes down to one thing: traction. Well, there's a lot of variables at play to achieve this. In most forms of motorsports, it comes down to the proper driveline and tire types. On the asphalt road circuits and ovals around the world, where standing starts occur only in the Formula classes, rear-wheel driven vehicles provide the best grip and agility needed to go fast. When you get onto looser or less than ideal surfaces, like in rallying and off-road stuff, four-wheel drive vehicles work best. What about drag racing? Well, the vast majority of drag racing is done on hard concrete and or asphalt surfaces, and the vast majority of drag cars are rear-wheel drive. Today, I'm going to compare the different drive lines for myself and find out what really works best. Hello everybody, welcome to BeamNG's West Coast Drag Strip. In order to properly compare the differences between rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and even front-wheel drive on the drag strip, we will of course need a vehicle that comes with all of those drive lines as an option. Thankfully, BeamNG does come with just such a vehicle. This is a Soliad Lansdale. None of these builds use any game mods. Well, not exactly an 11 on the cool meter. All three of these will be sporting identical 4.4 liter supercharged V8s that make over 1300 horsepower, with the only differences being the drivelines and tune-ups. For those of you that would like to build one of these for yourself, here's the entire build that I'm using on all three of these vans. If you enjoyed this sort of stuff, don't forget to hit that thumbs up so YouTube knows this is some good shit. If this is the sort of thing you're into, subscribe to the channel for more. With that out of the way, we're going to get right into it with what's obviously going to be the slowest version of our Lansdale today, and that's the front wheel drive version. I haven't done any front wheel drive builds at all prior to doing this, so I'm sure I haven't found the full potential of this thing yet. The front wheel drive version here is the lightest of the group, being about 50 pounds lighter than the rear wheel drive version and 100 pounds lighter than the all wheel drive. All of these fans use a 6-speed sequential transmission, so while I'll be pretty much flooring it and dropping the clutch in the other builds, with this, I'll slip the clutch a little through first gear in an attempt to eventually find some traction. Well, that's a 9.231 at 168 miles per hour for the front wheel drive Lansdale. The problem with front wheel drive vehicles, of course, is under hard acceleration. Most or all of the vehicle's weight gets transferred to the undriven rear tires, making the front end very light and the front driven tires struggle to find grip until well down track. So it's no surprise that this is the slowest of the three vans. Now, let's have a look at the rear wheel drive Lansdale. For the most part, this is the same build I used in the fastest drag car series from Bradenton Motorsports Park, where it ran an 8.58 at 169 miles per hour in the quarter mile. The difference today being the removal of the nitrous system that could only ever be used in tiny amounts anyway, for a very short time, before blowing the engine to shit. With that removed, the van comes in 25 pounds lighter, and as we'll see before this video is over, at least on hard prepped surfaces like a drag strip, the less weight you carry, the better. I've also given the tune-up a little bit more attention since I've last used this, so I now have this thing running pretty well. That's an 8.251 at 168 miles per hour in the rear-wheel drive Lansdale. I may work on this one further someday to see if I can get it closer to or into the 7s, but for now, that's a nice pass, I think. As we can see, ignoring the fact that this is a minivan, that run looks pretty much like any other run in most other classes that you would see. With the wheels up launch and all the van's weight planting onto the big slicks, it's pretty clear why rear wheel drive only is a drivetrain of choice for drag racing. In case that's not clear, let's bring out the all-wheel drive Lansdale and I'll show you. Once again, this is an identical build as the rear-wheel drive version, but with an added front differential and adjustable gearing, and the largest front drag slicks available for this van. The tune-up for this is nearly the same as with the rear-wheel drive version as well. With the added parts, the all-wheel drive comes in almost 50 pounds heavier. With all the extra weight being in the front, this thing is set up to where it will keep the front tires on the ground enough that they should be of some benefit and at the least, hopefully, literally pull their own weight. Let's find out. The all-wheel drive Lansdale runs at 8.519 at 169 miles per hour. The rear-wheel drive version of the minivan proved that 2 wheels is all that's needed for ideal traction on a drag strip, as long as it's the correct 2 wheels. While the all-wheel drive version did make some use of all 4 tires, the largest part of the difference between an 825 and an 850 for this thing is 50 pounds and the amount of rolling friction and drag. Unprepped drag strips, I think, until somebody comes up with some sort of lightweight hybrid system, rear-wheel driven race cars, whether on big slicks or small radials, will remain the norm for the foreseeable future. But there may be exceptions, so we're not done here yet. Without changing a thing in either builds or setups, we're taking 2 of these vans over to the road course return road, making another quarter-mile pass in each of them on a much less grippy, unprepped surface, starting with the rear-wheel drive combination. Looking for grip and coming up with a 9.931 second pass on the road course, more than 1.5 seconds off its best down the drag strip. Without a sticky racetrack underneath it, a 1300 horsepower rear-wheel driven minivan struggles for grip, at least with a racetrack setup in it, and it shows in the time. So, this might be that exception I mentioned. Without the traction to get the weight transfer onto the big rear slicks, carrying a little extra weight, but having the front tires to help pull the van off the starting line might suddenly become an advantage, and potentially a big one. The all-wheel drive Soliad Lansdale runs at 8.990 quarter-mile elapsed time on the unprepped return road, nearly a full second quicker than the rear-wheel drive version, and just less than half a second slower than its best on the sticky drag strip. Anyway, there you have it. I don't know if there was any big surprises here for anybody, but I thought it might be a fun experiment to try, and I enjoyed doing it. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you made it this far, thank you very much. Until next time, keep it in your own damn lane. Peace.